My name is Karla Adams, and welcome to day 6 of the 30-day clean eating challenge. My tip for you today is to not take your nutritional advice from a marketing campaign or the social norms. Okay, when we look at these statistics of what's happening out there, statistically, people are getting more unhealthy with each generation. We could statistically say that we're teaching our kids how to be obese and create disease. If we look at these statistics, that's what they actually show. So, and marketing actually produces 80% of the world's ideas out there on every subject in the world, even outside of nutrition or health or fitness or anything. So 80% of every subject that you are succeeding, failing in, or neutral in is influenced by our social norms, okay? So if you are not happy in this area of your life, do not take your advice from a marketing campaign or a social norm. I highly recommend actually hiring an expert. Actually looking at the statistics, that's one of the best things you can do. Okay, so let's look at some other stats. I mentioned these in some earlier videos. 10% of the population actually masters a lifelong habit of exercise. Those are called the lifers, okay? The lifers. They actually, for their entire life, will exercise. You know, they might take a month off or 2 months off or something might happen, but they're always going to get back on the wagon and they always get their exercise in, okay? But it's ingrained. It's in their unconscious. It happens every week. They think about it. It is ingrained in who they are. And that's what we're trying to do in a lifestyle change, is ingrain a subject into our life to become part of who we are, to master it, to become a mastery of it. So this whole 30-day challenge is to help you become a master. But these lifers, they have mastered exercise. Well, something that's real interesting about that statistic is 75% of these lifers never reach the goal they really want. 75%, that's a huge gap. And they're out there exercising their entire life. Well, what is it that's creating that 75%? It's in the understanding the nutrition and mindset development, like actually seeing things for how they really work or understanding how they really work, okay? And it's very multifaceted on which person leans more towards what information, but it's some combination of that. The way that we think in our lifestyle, and also being exposed to the correct information, nutritional information that actually applies to our own personal metabolism, because everybody's system is different, okay? So 75% are not getting what they want. Well, what about the 25% that are? What are they doing, right? Because if we want to master something, are we going to study the people that are not doing well, or are we going to study the people that are getting something right, right? We want to understand what these people are doing. Right? So out of this 25% that actually are getting what they want, 90% of them work with a professional. That's an interesting statistic. And I guarantee that other 10% that's not working with a professional, they actually mastered it. They became a master, and they might even be an expert. An expert has mastered something, right? I don't think you need to be an expert and go out and teach people to master this. But every person that wants this to exist within their lifestyle should target mastering it, mastering how their body works, mastering how the nutrition works. But so 90% of that 25% is working with a professional. And I would actually gear that towards the complexities in foods, the confusion that marketing and media puts out there. And I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff with the marketing and media and how it confuses people, right? But we need to stay out of that. You know, we need to stay focused on what's working and what our formula is. But part of that is the confusion, and then the other part of the confusion is how to create a lifestyle out of this information, or how should we be thinking about it, or how should this actually work? So let's go back to the marketing, understand what's happening in marketing. So most people don't think of marketing in the way that I'm going to describe it, but this is a very accurate way to actually think about marketing, because it's the way it's working, it's what's actually mechanically happening in the process of marketing. Marketing is a form of communication, okay? And there's many ways that we can communicate through all of our senses. Our words and our voice and our vibration that comes out of our body is not the only way to communicate to another person. Have you ever walked into a room and there might be a person that makes you feel more relaxed, or there might be another person that kind of makes you feel a little bit more uptight, or there might be just some random source of energy that you kind of just pick up from people, good, bad, or neutral. That's communication. And there was no words exchanged, right? You might experience that also, again, with like a spouse or a family member or somebody that you guys actually know each other pretty well, right? You know, you're in there with your spouse, you know, you could tell when your spouse is attracted to you because you didn't even say a word, but you got these little looks in the eyes or this vibration that just kind of comes from your energy that kind of communicates something. Or if you're frustrated at somebody, right? Sometimes you don't even have to be close for somebody to pick up that somebody's irritated at you. And they don't even have to tell you, but you can kind of just pick it up in the way things are said or the way their eyes moved or something like that. So that's all forms of communication, right? So marketing goes into many realms, and it's going to hit all of our senses, okay? And the more senses we hit, the more powerful marketing can become. So what is a good example of that? The Super Bowl commercial. The #1 watched show in the world is the Super Bowl commercial. Well, I'm sorry, the #1 show is the Super Bowl, right? But what's happening in the Super Bowl commercial that's only 30 seconds long, okay? Think about that for a second. A company will go out and pay $4 million for 30 seconds of your attention while you're sitting at home watching the Super Bowl. This is not while you're at the Super Bowl, okay? This marketing does not apply to people in the seats that are watching them. It's the people at home that get to see the commercials, that they pay $4 million for 30 seconds of their time. Well, we're gonna break down what's happening in that 30 seconds and why it's so powerful. I mean, if you think about it, if you went down and counted how many commercials actually happened during that entire, 3 hours or sometimes longer of the Super Bowl commercial, right? So what is happening that all these companies have done all this research? What do these companies actually understand that they will go out and even repetitiously spend $4 million for 30 seconds of your time? What's happening? Well, I'm going to tell you. And you're going to find it interesting. All right. So we're going to break down the Super Bowl commercial, right? Super Bowl commercial. #1 show watched in the world. What's happening? You go to, we'll say we're going to your friend's house. It's not at your house, right? So you go to, and it can be at your house. It doesn't matter. You go to your friend's house, right? Who's there? Your friends and your family. Or people that you probably know or want to know. And think about your energy at that time. You've probably got your guards down. You're kind of like, oh, I'm in a socialization mood and I'm ready to make friends or engage with my friends or different stuff, right? That's one layer, right? Next layer. You're probably having some entertainment food, enjoying, this or that. And another really, really interesting fact that people don't know about entertainment food is when you have the sugar, fat, processed carb combination all combined together, and that's like ice cream, pizza, cereal, there's many things in there, that's our normal comfort foods, right? When you have all those combined together, it's actually the most euphoric feeling you can feel in the world. More than any legal or illegal drug, and more than an orgasm. More than an orgasm. So, and people tried to argue with me on that, but there's stats out there. But anyways, so that's a euphoric feeling. So you're getting in a heightened state from the foods, right? You're probably having a cocktail, right? Which kind of puts you in a little bit more of a heightened state. And what I mean by heightened is more euphoric. They actually give a euphoria. Alcohol gives a euphoria. Entertainment food gives a euphoria. And it's just kind of like this. And that's why people call it comfort foods. Right? It's called comfort foods because it actually does comfort us. It gives us a euphoria. Okay? And it's 8 times more addictive than cocaine. But anyways, back to the Super Bowl commercial. So you're having a cocktail, you're feeling nice and relaxed, you're joking, you're laughing, you're having conversation, you're building relationships, you're doing all of this stuff, you're enjoying the game, there's all this enjoyment, all of your guards are down, and that little thing that I mentioned earlier when you walk into a room and sometimes you're tense and sometimes you're down, well, when you're in this environment and all this stuff is going down, all of your guards are down, okay? This is actually a very receptive time for you. Okay, because of all of these things that are going down with your senses, the human senses, right? This is a very receptive time where you can receive information, right? So you're laughing, you're joking, you're watching the Super Bowl, and then what happens? A Super Bowl commercial. And what do the Super Bowl commercials do? They make you laugh. So you just had all of these guards down, all these euphoric feelings, and then that Super Bowl commercial comes on and shoots your emotions through the loop in laughter, okay? All of these guards down and all these positive emotions is one of the most receptive times of a human being. And so whatever product or idea or service or whatever that commercial's in is the quickest way into your super, super, super unconscious. And for your emotions to feel comfortable with whatever that idea or product is. And all of your friends help do that. And all of these comfort levels help to do that. Help that product, service, or idea become normal to you, whether it works or not. Whether it's a car, whether it's food, whether it's anything. It just makes your emotions feel comfortable with it. If anybody's ever heard the scenario of having habits passed down through families, this is the same thing. You grew up with this positive or negative or neutral habit, and your emotions became normal to that. And this is very commonly taught in alcoholism, because that gets passed on sometimes with generations just because it's normal. Right? There's a lot of good, bad, and neutral habits we pass on because it feels normal. What else feels normal, right? In products and services ideas. Did you know there was a day that your favorite fast food restaurant or soda pop like Coca-Cola or McDonald's, that you had no emotion attached to those places because it was out of sight, out of mind? And did you know that they became part of the social norm when they hit 3% of the market? Did you know that 3% of the market is a very common trend talked about in professional marketers, right? If you had some global company and you were part of some marketing team and you wanted to get your service or your product or your idea out there, your goal is to hit 3% of that market and to have your product, service, or idea become part of the social norm. And what does that mean? It means the Americans, their emotions, enough Americans, it means 3% of the market means 3% of the population in America, their emotions are attached to your product, and it's normal. It's just part of who we are as people. Coke and McDonald's is just part of who we are. Is that really part of who we are? Not really. But our emotions can actually send these messages out there. And that's how marketing and media works. And that's actually why a Super Bowl commercial is over $4 million. It's because in 30 seconds, they can have your emotion attached to this product, service, or idea to make it normal to you in your life. Okay, so this is something that's actually happening to you. Those things are becoming normal. And that entire environment's doing that. And this happens every time you're watching TV at some larger or smaller degree. I just use the Super Bowl commercial because it's one of the most popular shows watched. Okay, and it just really sets the stage of all the senses being hit, right? Because when you're out there with the food and all your guards are down, every sense is being hit. Your eyes, your sight, your hearing, your taste buds. I mean, everything is just going euphoric. So these are the different types of things we want to understand how we work too. I actually use marketing in my actual fitness program. I use marketing to shift people into a new them. Okay, marketing can be used for shifting people's emotions and helping to motivate and do all this stuff. So marketing is just a form of communication, and it's the most powerful form of communication. And you know how I know it's the most powerful form? Because it influences 80% of the world's ideas. Did you know that 80% of the world's ideas also come out of Hollywood? Good, bad, and neutral. So any subject you're interested in, it probably came. 80% of the world's ideas across the globe actually comes from an hour away from us, most of it. So those are just some really interesting things to know about the marketing. Some other things to know about marketing is half-truths. Okay? And what's a half-truth? A half-truth can come out in several different ways. It can come off, it can actually be preached off like a gospel to you, but it's really a half-truth because it doesn't apply to you. Okay, I see this happen all the time with nutritional stuff, and that's why I'm like, do not take your nutritional advice from a marketing campaign or the social norm, please. You can have this PhD doctor that goes out and does this 2-year research plan that has all these stats, and it says this, blah, 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 and they're like, this product is going to change your life. It's going to do everything for you, and it's just this magic pill, and it's just all these things. I don't know, whatever list they had, right? And they have all these stats and they proved it and it does this to the body and blah, 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 blah. Well, they didn't let you know that after they did all that research, it only really applies to 4% of the market, but they just marketed it to the entire American population and it hit the 3% mark, and it really just didn't apply to most of those people. Okay, that happens all the time. There's a lot of half-truths. Like sometimes that information will not apply to you. Another way that there's a half-truth is, this is an example I give all the time, is the Centrum vitamin, okay? Centrum is actually the #1 selling supplement on the market, right? It's a multivitamin, and I love multivitamins. I highly recommend them. I always recommend a food-based one. Centrum is not a food-based one. So it's the #1 selling supplement, but your body actually can't use anything that's in the bottle. So if you're purchasing the Centrum supplement, your body can't use any of it. And the reason why it can't is because where they drove the vitamins from. Okay, and this is perfectly legal, and supplement companies do this all the time, but the only thing that supplement company has to do to fulfill their legal promise to you that's on the label is make sure those vitamins are in there. They don't have to give you a source that your body can actually use, though. They didn't promise you that, and they actually can't promise you that. It's something that you can't do, but they don't have to promise it that it works. So if you've ever heard of iron constipating you, well, if you drive it from dirt, it'll constipate you. But if you drive it from fruits and vegetables, it won't. And the reason why it won't is because we don't live off of dirt. I don't eat dirt. I'm not sure if you do. But, even if you did, and there is some benefit still to dirt, but we can't get iron from them. We actually can't use that source. But a company can put it in a bottle and sell it to you and, legally sell it to you because they did everything that it said on the bottle and they promised and they fulfilled their promise, right? So, but that's kind of like a half-truth. It's like, I'm sure that anybody who spends the $6 or $7 on the Centrum supplement actually wants the benefits that come with an actual a multivitamin, right? And that's why you want to get a food-based multivitamin. Our body's designed to live off of foods, and it knows what to do with it. And a good food-based multivitamin, if you put it in a glass of water, it'll dissolve. Okay, and that's how you know you have a good food-based multivitamin. But if you put it in there and it doesn't dissolve, well, it's not dissolving in your stomach, and your body's probably not using it. But back to the Centrum. So everybody who spends that $6 or $7 on the Centrum, they actually wasted their entire time going to the market and purchasing it and taking it off the shelf, and they wasted their $6 or $7. They might as well put it in the trash because your body can't use any of it. You're only getting a check mark. Oh, I took my multivitamin. I got my check mark. But it's not doing anything for you. So that's a half-truth. All right, and there's so much freedom in our free market that we actually now have to really sort through these things to make sure, okay, am I purchasing something that's actually going to give me what I want and what I need? Okay, so that's another way. So the two half-truths, right? And just a little reminder: the first half-truth is you can have the most educated, godly doctor that is just on a pedestal, just the most wonderful person in the world, and huge agenda, huge list of credentials behind him, and he will do a research, but that research only applies to 4% of the population, and you're not part of it. So that's a half-truth. Okay, so you're going to waste your time in anything that doctor is doing, because it does not apply to you. The other half-truth is that what are these companies actually legally required to do with their promise and when they're putting something on the label, okay? And no company will promise you that any supplement works, okay? So you just have to do the research and understand what the body actually works on it. And it's usually always the natural stuff. There is some unnatural stuff that probably does some things, but these are things that have to be researched.
Hi, my name is Maria. I came to Karla shortly after I turned 49 in March. I was no longer getting the results I needed from the exercise program I was doing. I signed up with Karla for 3 months. She teaches you what to eat, how much to eat, and how to exercise properly. After 3 months, I've lost over 14 pounds and 6% body fat. Since starting the program, I've changed my mindset. I used to believe that you could work off any bad diet. I know now that a combination of clean eating gives you faster results, better results, more long-lasting results. The Karla Adams approach is different because it's a combination of both what you put into your body and how you exercise your body. Both of those together is how you get the results that you want. All other programs are either only food oriented or only exercise oriented. Karla has a unique approach for both programs, both things that help you reach your goals. If you do what she tells you to do, you'll get results. It's just if you're at the point and she will be there for you, you can reach your goals together. It's not easy, but if you really want something, nothing ever is. If you're willing to put in the time to cook your own meals, come 3 times a week, you too can see results. I'm in the Fit Business Professional program.